Hello everyone and welcome back to part 3 of my December Pointslist update suggestion. This part is about hand traps, board breakers and about some problem cards that I want to see being hit. The last part was about the engines that I want to see unhit, and part 1 was about the engines that I think need to be hit on the next points list update. If you haven't watched those, I will link them in the description, and also in the right corner I will link them, so you can watch them first and then come back to this video, or watch them the other way around. It doesn't really matter which one you watch first. You can watch them in any order, but make sure to also take a look at those. Also, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. That would really help me and you would never miss a new video. Also, if you liked the video, please like it and tell me in the comments what you think about the changes to the hand traps. Maybe you think I missed something after you watched the video, or yeah, just tell me your opinion in the comments and let's go straight into it. Yeah, hand traps, let's talk about them. I mentioned in a video before that I think Genesis is in a crucial spot right now. We have a lot of decks that are way too strong going first, and yeah, I think hand traps are like the only solution that could fix this and could make the game way more available for going second. Yeah, but we have a lot of hand traps that are pointed high, so only like the super cheap decks can play a lot of hand traps. So the decks that can play like only a playset or two playset of hand traps because they're high pointed have to play like the Floodgate hand traps. So a lot of decks just play only Droll and Nibiru because they're like 5 points, and I think that Droll is not really the right card being that cheap and being in every deck, because Droll doesn't really provide healthy gameplay. It doesn't need skill expression to use it. I don't think Droll is in a good spot right now, and I also hear a lot of voices that are like, complain about Droll. Also, we have like the added factor that if you go first, establish your board, and also have a Droll on top, that usually makes the board unbreakable, right? So I don't think we should leave Droll where it is. So I would say we have to point Droll a lot higher. Nibiru though I think is fine. I think Nibiru can stay at its 5 points, maybe up it to 7, because I'm gonna do another change which would make Nibiru stronger. So my suggestion here is Droll to 15 points and Nibiru to 7 points, so that they are a bit harder to play. But before you cry, I have another change that I want to go hand to hand with it. If we point those hand traps higher, combo decks would just explode, right? But they already did, so yeah. But I want to give another change. I want to have the Charmys changed. I want to take the Charmys the spots of Droll and Nibiru, because I think the Charmys are way healthier cards. They have like the ability to be good going second, but they're bricks if you draw them going first. So you have to decide if you want to play them in the side deck, in the main deck. They're not an auto include, right? And you also have like more ways to play around those Charmys. You can make a different strategy. They're not as bad for the game as a Droll Lockboard is, right? So also, if you have them on top of your board, they are not an insta-win like Droll and Lockbird. So I think they are way more healthy. So I would personally put all the Charmys down to the spot where Droll and Nip were. So I rather see the Fuwa and Purulia in every deck than Droll and Nip in every deck. But Snip I think is still fine. We could put it to 7 points or even leave it at 5. That's not a huge deal. But Fuwa to 5 points, Purulia also down from 10 to 5 points. I think both are like equally strong in the Genesis format. In the TCG, I think Fuwa is a bit better, but in the Genesis there is a lot summoning from the hand, so I think Purulia and Fuwa are equally as strong in the format. And I also want to put down Meowls from 3, I think it's right now, to 2, just because there are not really 2-point cards. There you usually have like the situation that you build a deck and you are at 98 points, and there is not really a good thing that you can put in. Now you can just put in Meowls into your side deck. with those 2 points and don't have to waste them. So I think I want to see Meowls a bit cheaper, and for 6 points, if there's a deck in the meta that is like has like problems against Meowls, you have like you can spend 6 points to counter the deck and have like 3 Meowls. I think that's a good change, and I really want to see that to get the Fuwa, Purulia, and Meowls down. Let's now talk about the hand traps that are not floodgates. I wouldn't necessarily change a lot about those non-floodgate hand traps because we made a huge change to Fuvalos and Purulia. And if you have like Fuvalos and Purulia paired with a lot of like hand traps that are not floodgates, like low impact hand traps, that was the word I was searching for, you have like the problem that it becomes really OP because you can draw into with Fuwalas and Purulia into those hand traps, and your opponent won't have a really good time then. So I think we shouldn't change a lot on those. Maybe we can do a change to Imperm and Ghost Belle. Imperm from 13 to 10, so maybe it becomes now the playable range. We have a Whaler at 7. Imperm is a bit higher quality card, so we have it at 10. And I also want to see Ghost Belle from 5 to 3, because I think Ghost Belle is a bit too expensive if it's at 5. So maybe we can set it at the same range like Mourner and Ogre, because I think Ogre and Mourner are way more generic than Ghost Belle. And for the job that Ghost Belle is doing, which is checking the graveyard, we have like cards that cost 0 points. And cards that cost 0 points are way less cheaper than cards that cost 3 points. So I would never, or even 5 points, I would never play like Ghost Belle when it's like when I can just do the same job with a free Skullmeister or a free DD Crow. So I wouldn't change. I wouldn't leave Ghost Belle at 5. Just get it to 3. So maybe if we have a meta where Ghost Belle is a good card, can stop like can stop an engine, maybe you consider playing it instead of Ogre or something like that. So, but I think it's important that they're costed the same. But for example, Ash Blossom and Veiler, I wouldn't really touch, because Ash Blossom I think is still way too strong against like the decks that we have in Genesis format. So I think it's fine that you have to spend 15 points to play such a powerful card. For Whaler though, I would personally leave it at 7 points. I don't think we have to go lower on it, because if we leave it at 7 points, we have it the same points like Nibiru. So you have to decide, you want to play Nibiru or do you want to play Veiler. You can just decide it, and depending on the meta that you have, if Whaler is like the better card for you or if Nibiru is the better card for you. If we want to go down with Whaler, I think we should leave Nibiru also at 5 points so that they have like the same points. But I rather think it's better to be a bit careful with the hand traps if we go down with Fuwalas and Purulia that much, so we don't like have a full deck just consisting of hand traps. I also think board breakers are not in a super good state in Genesis, because right now it's you only play board breakers if you cannot afford to play hand traps. This is what it feels like, and yeah, I do think this will not change that easily. But if we have the Charmys a bit lower, maybe it's also a valid strategy to just play the Charmys, stop the opponent with the Charmys, and then draw with the Charmys into board breakers. So naturally, I also want to change some board breakers, but I think only board breakers that can only be used going second should be changed. I don't think something like Droplet or Chalice, like quick play board breakers that you can just set, are the cards that are too weak. I think if you have a board breaker, it should be the risk that you will have a card that's useless if you go first, but is useful when you go second. But yeah, with Droplet you have a card that's a board breaker and also useful going first and second. But with a card like Darkhold or Raigeki, those are only good if you have them going second and are only good in like specific matchups. So I think the price on those are still a bit too high. Dark Roll is only 3 points, but I think it should be a bit lower, like 2 points, because there are not really a lot of cards that only have 2 points. Because that's why I also wanted to have the Volchami Meowls at 2 points and also the Dark Hole. So if you have like 2 points randomly left, you can just put one Dark Hole into your side deck. And I do think 6 points for 3 Dark Hole sounds kind of good, because that's like a lot cheaper. That's like cheaper than a Veiler even, right? So this could be like a reason to play that. And for Raigeki, I also want it to be a lot cheaper. I don't think it should be like 7 points. This is too high. I think 3 points is good for the card. It should be 1 point higher than Dark Hole. I guess the difference is not that huge between Dark Hole and Raigeki, but I think it's a bit stronger. If you draw in the grind game, you have like a bit of an edge over over Dark Hole. So I think Raigeki should naturally 1 point higher than Raigeki, but I also think 3 points is fine. So you could play it now for 9 points and another 6 point. You could play 3 Dark Hole and 3 Raigeki. There's like 15 points for 6 cards that destroy all the opponent's monsters. I think that sounds kind of good and sounds kind of promising. Maybe you could try that, and I think that this is why this can be a good change. Two other board breakers that I think that are too expensive is Change of Heart, which is still 10 points, and also Snatch Steal, which is still 7 points. Those are like 1-for-1 cards, right? Yeah, you receive like a monster, but yeah, it's still like you activate one card, you can out one interruption with that. And maybe with the monster you get, you can out another interruption, but I don't think those cards are like stronger than Dark Hole or Raigeki. I don't really see that. And therefore, I think those should be less expensive. For Change of Heart, I would say it's like 5 points is like the correct thing to do, and Snatch Steal is like 3 points. I think that's better, because if you pop like Snatch Steal and also Snatch Steal targets it, yeah, it won't resolve. So yeah, I think that's a better thing. So Change of Heart can be also a good thing in the new deck Hacker Hands. So maybe for 5 points they can think about using like a Change of Heart in their side deck. So I think this change could be an interesting one. Also interesting cards could be Dino Wrestler Pankratops and also Book of Moon. But those cards are a bit too expensive right now. Yeah, I know Book of Moon is not a real board breaker because it's a quick play card, like drop it, so you can set it and have it going first. But I don't think this is like too strong of a card to have. And yeah, Book of Eclipse is also just 5 points. I think Book of Eclipse is stronger than Book of Moon. So I think naturally Book of Moon shouldn't cost more, because it costs like 7 points. And yeah, I think 3 points could be a good spot to be for Book of Moon, and maybe you would pick it then over a hand trap because you can use it going first. It's a 1-for-1 card, right? And yeah, it books a monster, so it's not really a 1-for-1, it's more like a -1, but a booked monster usually cannot do anything, so I think it's still like a 1-for-1. And going second can also help to break like boards, but it's still target, so I think it's still worse than Book of Eclipse. But yeah, Book of Moon to 3 could be reasonable. And also Pankratops. This is like a pure going second board breaker, so I think this shouldn't be 10 points for sure. And it's also like a side deck card. To main deck this card is not really an option. So I don't think 10 points is like okay for this card. Yeah, dinosaurs can search this, but dinosaurs is not a problem. Dinosaurs also has like super many points. And this is why I think we could actually try something and reduce Pankratops from 10 to 3 points. The good thing for Pankratops is that it's usually a 2-for-1. Because if you special it, you can attack over something, then use its effect, tribute itself, and pop something else. So I think this could maybe see some play in the side decks if it's only 3 points. The question is, would you play it over Raigeki? Would you rather play Pankratops? It depends on the meta, I think, because Pankratops can also out like spells and traps. And if the opponent has like a deck which has like continuous traps, this even helps more. So yeah, I think Pankratops is like a nice option if you want to have like a card that can outspell and traps or can also out like monsters. So I think this could be an interesting thing to have. So then you can choose, or do I want to play like Twin Twisters for 0 points or Cosmic Cyclones for 0 points, or do I want to spend some more points on engine that destroys spell and traps and yeah, go for Pankratops, which I can only use going second. Cosmic Cyclone I can also set and use going first in game 3, for example. So I don't think it would be harmful to put Pankratops to 3 points. And the last change I want to see for board breakers is actually about an extra deck board breaker. It's about Ty-Phoon. Ty-Phoon is a card that, in my opinion, is super healthy for the game. It doesn't provide any unhealthy things because usually if the opponent slaps a Ty-Phoon on its board, his turn is over, but he can maybe also break down your board. So I think Ty-Phoon shouldn't be 10 points. I think it should actually be 0 point. And let me explain why. If every deck gets the ability to easily go into a Ty-Phoon, this will boost the overall strength of going second by a lot in the Genesis format. Because right now, if you lose die roll, it's like a really bad thing for you because the going first boards are super strong. And also if you play like an engine that just naturally needs a lot of points because it's an expensive engine, I think you shouldn't just be doomed if you have to go second. So yeah, if you have an engine that's expensive, normally it's also a strong engine. And you can play through a lot of things with a strong engine, but sometimes there is maybe missing like one or two pushes. And maybe Ty-Phoon could be like that thing that helps you to push like through the whole board. And yeah, then if Ty-Phoon is on the board, you maybe outed like the opponent's board, but usually you cannot kill with Ty-Phoon and you also cannot extend further. So it's the opponent's turn, then goes back and forth. I think always when Ty-Phoon hits the board, this promotes healthy gameplay and promotes like turning the game around and giving like turns to each other. So I think that this is what good Yu-Gi-Oh looks like, and usually Ty-Phoon, when it hits the board, it's good Yu-Gi-Oh then in this game. So yeah, sometimes you just go for Ty-Phoon in desperation, then this is not like the best Yu-Gi-Oh, but you know what I mean. So I think it would be a good change to try this and give every deck the option to just go Ty-Phoon and have like one more push going second. But there are two things that you have to consider if you put Ty-Phoon that low. The first thing is Nibiru will be a lot stronger. And this is also the reason why I want to keep Nibiru at 7 points if I take a look at like the whole points list. So if you just Nibiru the opponent and then he still builds like a board, you can then just build your own board, keep the nib on your board, and then after you did your combo going second, you could then just slap like the Ty-Phoon over the Nibiru, because sometimes this will be like with 3000 tech your strongest monster. So this gives Nibiru a bit of a boost. And the other thing that also gets a lot stronger is Lupus. Lupus actually becomes a hand trap, right? If you have like Ty-Phoon at 0, because Lupus is only 5 points, and you can just use Lupus then to interrupt the opponent if he has like monsters that are stronger than 3000. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing to have Lupus as an actual hand trap, but you just have to keep it in mind that this would like cause the change. Let's now also talk about some problem cards that are in the format. I think there are still some cards left that are like floodgate effects and maybe should be addressed by the points list because they do not provide a lot of fun. And yeah, I think the main thing that Genesis format should provide is fun, and those cards are just like anti-fun. So I think they should be pointed. Let's start with the elephant in the room. I mentioned this like 100 times before, and as often as I mentioned it, I also want to get the same amount of points. It's Rhongo. I know it's not that frequently played. It also is not like in every Onomat deck that plays it, right? But it is an option. It can be played. And Rhongo at 31 points, there's no reason this card is there. I mentioned it before. This card doesn't bring any benefit to the game. It just is harmful to the game. It just destroys the fun. It should be 100 points. It's banned in the TCG. I don't see any reason this card should be less than 100 points. There is no benefit for the game having Rhongo at 31 points. So I think this should be at 100 points, no doubt. Another card that I sadly have to talk about again is Dimension Shifter. I think, yeah, right now it's not hugely played, but it's still a Floodgate card. It still is anti-fun. It should be more than 10 points. If a deck can play it, it should like suck up all their non-engine points. I don't think it should just be 10 points. I think 20 would be way better for Shifter. And yeah, I also think that Shifter should be the one card that has points and not Exosister. So if we maybe want to give Exosister some power back because it like vanished out of the decks that can be played, because Exosister is, let's be fair, not a really good deck. It's just it had just 0 points, so this is why the deck was played. But if we want to give some power back to Exosister, we also have to give Shifter points, because this one should not be free. So if they want to use it, it should be like super expensive for them to use it. So they have to make a decision if they want to use normal hand traps or want to play free Shifter. And in the same theme, we have to talk about Macrocosm and Fissure. Those cards also provide obnoxious gameplay. They're super strong floodgates. They just shut down the graveyard completely. Also, if you go first and do your combo and then set this up on your board as well, there's like no way of breaking this board. Even if your deck maybe needs the graveyard to play with, if you just flip the Fissure or Macrocosm after that, after you build your board, it's like unbreakable for the opponent. So those cards are insta wins, and I think they shouldn't be 0 points. We don't have to point them super high. I think for macro it could be enough that it's like 5 points, because this one is only like a card that helps you going first, and that you can build on top of a board to make it unbreakable. I think Fissure should be a bit more high pointed, because it has some more things that you can use it for. For example, this one, yeah, you can have it on top of a board, but if your deck is like a spell deck, or only needs like spells in the graveyard, for example Runic, you can still play this, because this one only banishes and punishes monster in the graveyard. It also lets you play around Droll, which is actually used for. So because Droll, or for example also Veiler and Ogre, need to hit the graveyard to be able to use, and if they cannot send themselves as cost for the graveyard, you will just have a free out to all of those hand traps. So you just activate a Fissure, so the opponent cannot stop your combo, and also loses to the floodgate effect of Fissure. So I think Fissure should be at least 10 points, and not lower than that. Speaking about insta-win and unfair cards, there are some more floodgates that maybe could use some points. I don't think we right out have to give them 100 points, but let's give them some points, because now they are all at 0 points, and I don't think they should be 0 points. If you want to use them, you at least have to use some of your points. I would all set them to 5 points, and I'm talking about Discord. Discord is a continuous spell, a continuous trap, I'm sorry, that says neither player can synchro summon, right? We also have non-fusion area. it's the same thing, neither player can fusion summon. Then we have Stygian Dirge. It reduces the level of all monsters your opponent controls by 1. This one severely hits XYZ decks and also Synchro decks, so it's also a strong floodgate. Then we have Light-Imprisoning Mirror, just shuts down all the light monster effects on the field and in the graveyard. Then we have Shadow-Imprisoning Mirror, which does the same for dark monsters. We have a Magic Deflector, which says negate all equipped field continuous and quick play spell cards effects on the field. This is like especially for something like Radiant Ty-Phoon, this can be an insta win against that. And we also have like Imperial Iron Wall and maybe also Mask of Restrict, something like that. The one just forbids the banishing and the other one forbids tribute summoning. So I think all of those cards shouldn't be free because they are floodgates, and there can be scenarios where they can be played and can be good. But if you want to play them, I think you should pay some points for it, and I think 5 points is reasonable, so that you have to think, oh, do I want to play this specific floodgate out, or maybe do I want to just play some generic cards that hit the deck but also hit something else. So you have to make the decision, and it's not an auto include to just win the game in some matchups. And I want to talk about 2 cards that I also want to see being pointed higher because they're currently at 0 points, and they also provide unfun gameplay, so I want to see them have more points. The first one is Gravity Collapse. This one, it just says when your opponent would summon a monster, send one face-up synchro monster you control the graveyard, negate the summon, and if you do, destroy that monster. And the most crucial part is, and your opponent cannot summon a monster until the end of this turn. So this is like a lingering floodgate if the opponent dares to summon anything. So if you play a synchro deck, this is an auto include if it's at 0 points. So I don't even want to see this card. Even if it's like 10 points, it could be an auto include for winning. So I want to see this card maybe going straight up to, I don't know, 20 points, so that it's like a really hard decision to just put it into your deck because it's a side deck card. So I don't think we have to put it at 100 points, or just maybe give it 20 points. And also another card that I think provides really unfair gameplay if you go first is Spiritual Water Art Aoi. For water decks, tribute one water monster, look at your opponent's hand, then send one card from their hand to the graveyard. Straight up. Full knowledge, rip one card off the opponent's hand, maybe the Boardbreaker or the combo starter or whatever, you get the full knowledge. Also, it's not once per turn. I don't think this card has any business being at like 0 points. I think this card needs at least 15 points or 20 points, like Gravity Collapse, so it won't be that easy to just side in like always if you go first and rip your opponent's cards, because the knowledge that this card provides is super strong, and also just being able to rip a card, yeah, why not? I think this is obnoxiously strong, and something like a Point of the Red Lotus is also banned in the TCG, so I think this card should also have some points at least. Thank you so much for watching this video until this point. Please tell me in the comments what you think about the changes, about the board breakers, about the hand traps. Maybe you want to see something else happening. Maybe also tell me what you think about the Droll change that I suggested. Yeah, just tell me your opinion in the comments. I will read them all and also answer you if you ask questions or something. And please also consider subscribing. That would really help me in the future to produce more videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, you will always get updated. Thank you again, and see you in the next video.